told your friend you're not okay.
Top Kpop returns with one of the most stirring stories of the year. One that begins not with noise, but with silence. A silence so stark, so bold, so magnetic that it feels like the world itself is leaning in just to understand it. Imagine a single frame. Dark. Minimalist. Silent. But within that silence lies an authority that doesn't need sound to be heard. March 2026 marked a turning point when Jungkook's name appeared as the face of the prestigious magazine L'Officiel Hommes Singapore. It wasn't just a cover reveal, it was an event that stopped timelines worldwide. The announcement, shared via a sensational post by SK Pop Culture on X, spread faster than anyone could have anticipated. Armies flooded the comments section within minutes, and once the cover finally reached the public, one realization resonated everywhere. The Jungkook standing on the page was a version the world had only glimpsed before. He wore a black sweater so clean and minimalist that it seemed designed to amplify his presence. A single earring reflected the light with quiet elegance. His tattoos, long a symbol of his artistic identity, were displayed openly and confidently. And on his wrist, a Hublot watch exuded authority without demanding attention. The image didn't need anything flashy or decorative. No vibrant colors. No props. Just Jungkook and time. It felt as if the world held its breath, letting his expressions speak where words were unnecessary. Jungkook had lived in the spotlight since his teenage years, rising from a shy young performer to a global icon whose name resonated far beyond music. But what happened in March 2026 wasn't a continuation of his past, it was a new chapter, written with a maturity that showed he wasn't just participating in the world of luxury, he was carving out his place within it. A month earlier, on February 12, 2026, Hublot officially announced Jungkook as their newest global ambassador. In their announcement, they introduced him as a global artist and pop icon of the 21st century, a title earned through a decade of relentless evolution. They described the partnership as the intersection of two worlds, modern luxury and contemporary global pop art, melding into one powerful identity. And Jungkook stood at the center of that fusion like someone destined for the role. For many, this collaboration felt intuitive, but its deeper meaning only became clear when reflecting on its journey. Jungkook wasn't just a familiar face, he represented discipline, consistency, and the courage to continuously innovate. And his connection with Hublot didn't just emerge out of thin air. It had been cultivated years earlier, during his performance of Dreamer at the opening ceremony of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. That night, millions watched as music, performance, and time converged into a moment that still resonates to this day. Jungkook later expressed how meaningful that night was, how it felt like an alignment of passion and destiny. Perhaps it was the quiet beginning of a partnership that now feels like destiny fulfilled. As he stood with Hublot again, the moment felt less like coincidence and more like the completion of a circle. Jungkook himself stated that sharing this honor with fans around the world meant everything to him. A simple message, yet one that captures the essence of who he is: humble, genuine, and always aware of the people behind his success. He also praised Hublot's values: confidence, craftsmanship, and the courage to forge one's own path. These ideals mirror his own artistic life. Jungkook has spent years experimenting, refusing to remain static. Whether through genre exploration, developing his vocal technique, or reinventing his stage presence, he continually pushes boundaries. And it's this fearless approach that caught the attention of Hublot CEO Julian Tornar, who publicly expressed his excitement about the partnership. According to Tornar, Jungkook embodies the kind of visionary influence that aligns perfectly with Hublot's identity as a leader in watch innovation and mastery. The similarities between them are striking. Hublot is renowned for combining unexpected materials: gold with rubber, classic tradition with radical modernity. Jungkook, in his own way, blends the polished discipline of K-pop with the emotional depth of a global artist. And just when the world thought Jungkook had peaked in 2026, the narrative that began with his bold L'Officiel Hommes Singapore cover continued, like a never-ending timeline. The silence of that iconic black-themed photoshoot had become a global conversation, but the real story was just beginning to unfold. Jungkook wasn't entering the world of luxury for a moment. He was entering it to redefine how a South Korean artist could exist within it. The impact of the cover's release provided a clearer picture. Brands, industry observers, and fans began to realize that this wasn't just a visual transformation. It was the crystallization of everything Jungkook had been building for the past decade. The way he presented himself in that minimalist frame, the calm expression, the subdued intensity, the way the Hublot watch rested on his wrist, was more than just aesthetics. It was the projection of someone who had learned to navigate fame, artistry, and pressure with the precision of a master craftsman. After the magazine's release, the wave of discussion in global media was unstoppable. Fashion analysts began analyzing the symbolism behind the photo shoot, the absence of color, the urban backdrop, and the predominance of shadows. Many concluded that the monochrome palette was intentional, reflecting a rebirth, a Jungkook who doesn't need luxury to be extraordinary. Social media platforms continued to be flooded with comments, with millions of armies remarking on how this version of Jungkook seemed to communicate something deeper than any style choice could ever convey. At the same time, Hublot's decision to introduce him as a global ambassador just weeks before the magazine's release seemed almost strategic in retrospect. It was as if two separate worlds, Swiss luxury and Korean pop art, were slowly merging into one narrative. The L'Officiel cover wasn't just a follow-up. It felt like a visual manifestation of Hublot's faith in him. The meticulous craftsmanship, the confidence embedded in their brand identity, and their obsession with innovation aligned perfectly with Jungkook's continued evolution. And the world saw it. Even Julien Tourneur's previous comments about Jungkook resurfaced with new resonance. People replayed his speech, analyzing how he spoke of the youngest BTS member with the rare admiration of a CEO addressing an artist. Tourneur isn't talking about Jungkook as the face of a campaign. It's talking about him as a force representing passion, drive, and a desire to transcend boundaries. And as magazine covers continue to dominate global timelines, it's becoming clear that Jungkook is no longer celebrated solely for his music, but for the larger cultural impact he's had. Fans also recall how Jungkook once spoke of the feeling of completeness he felt while performing Dreamer at the 2022 FIFA World Cup. A night when millions watched him combine music, spectacle, and global unity in a way few other artists have ever managed. That memory resurfaces as an emotional bridge to the present moment. At the time, he had no idea that the seeds of this current era, the partnership, the magazine cover, the global influence, were being quietly planted. But now, those seeds have fully blossomed into a story bigger than anyone could have predicted. The more people talk about the magazine cover, the more they begin to see it as symbolic. Jungkook's tattoos, once a point of contention, now grace the covers of luxury magazines with an undeniable presence, uncensored, unstrategically cropped. His personal identity, which he built through courage and honesty, is now embraced globally with admiration. The watch on his wrist is no longer just an accessory. It has become a metaphor for everything he has mastered: time, growth, discipline, and confidence. But while that moment was profound, Jungkook didn't stop there. Fashion insiders began whispering that the L'Officiel cover was just the beginning of his luxury era journey in 2026. Rumors swirled about potential appearances at prestigious global events, collaborations with top designers, and even more editorial projects that would further cement his position in the elite fashion landscape. Among fans, armies embraced this era with immense pride. Many reminisced about the days when Jungkook first entered the industry as a teenager, starry-eyed, humble, and unsure of his place in the world.